Welcome back to Pit Race. Yeah, it's still around, Jason, but it looks pretty good right now. So hopefully there's enough breeze blowing here where it's going to dry out the track. More fans have started to fill the hillsides, and motorcycles have gone out on the racetrack, which means we're going to Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Rain's holding off so far, but I'm here with Kyle Wyman. Kyle, best qualifying session we've seen from you all season. How are you feeling about your setup going into the race this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm super happy just being here with a familiar view with only 3 bikes ahead of me. So feels good to be back up here. Bike's feeling a lot better than it has all year. So starting to get comfortable and learning a few things about what we have now. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting a dry race because it's full wet all through that first section right now. So hopefully we wait that out and get a good clean dry race and see what we can do on my Harvs KWR Yamaha. Should be fun.
Best of luck to you. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. Big changes for Kyle Wyman. Is beautiful shot of the hillside there.
And that 4th place for Kyle at Atlanta probably feels like it was a million years ago. So it's good to see him, exactly what he said, that he's got 3 guys in front of him only to worry about.
There's Cameron Beaubier, your championship points leader and pole sitter, sitting in the hot pit area. The reason for that, he wasn't able to make it out on the sighting lap, and there was a question on what he was going to be able to do, meaning was he going to have to start from last on the grid, which would have been probably in the 15th spot. But word from MotoAmerica that we're getting, at least for the moment, is that when the warm-up lap happens, Cameron Beaubier will be able to take his grid position, which is, of course, pole position, Jason. Yeah,
the biggest thing is he's not going to have what these guys just got. When you have a little downpour like that, you heard Kyle say that he got a chance to see that whole back section is pretty wet. Cameron's going to have to just get to see that on the warm-up lap only. These guys they already know what kind of to expect, so when they go back out for their warm-up lap, they'll already have a little bit of an idea. It might be a little wet in some spots and dry up as the race goes.
Well, let's get back down to Hannah, who has someone very excitable.
I've tracked down Josh Herron. Got away from the bike here for a second. Front row start from you at a track that you didn't have the opportunity to race at last season. So how's your confidence going into this race?
Pretty good. I feel like we picked up the track pretty quick. It's something where every session I'm picking up a little bit more time compared to other guys. So I feel like we're improving. But it is a really difficult track to learn. Definitely one of my favorites, though. Really fun track, flowy, lots of elevation changes. I'm pumped for the race. I just hope it dries up right now. We got part of the track that's wet, part of it that's dry. And we got slicks on the bike, and it's just spinning up, going straight up and down. So hopefully we can get a safe start going and have a good race. I think we got a shot at winning, and hopefully just have a good, safe race.
Thanks, Josh.
I think that's really the key to it in these mixed conditions, Jason.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you're going to go race on the world level, they don't wait for anything, and you can see the horns have sounded and guys are running back to their bikes. Hey, it's the same for everybody, and the track is going to dry. There's no question about it. But that's why you can choose other tires if you want to choose other tires, and if you want to try to run slicks, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go slow, and that's just the thing is you get a good look at our starting grid here. Cameron Beaubier with a new lap record around this track, 39.9 this morning in qualifying, and Super Pole, Garrett Gerloff, his teammate, right there in feeling pretty confident in third. Tony Ilias, Matthew Skoltz, Kyle Wyman. On the outside of row 2, row 3, we got Bobby Fong, Danny Essick. Roger Hayden there in row 3. He had a bit of an off-end Super Pole. That's why he's back where he's at. I think he's got more pace than that, as does Jake Lewis, who you see back there on row 4 next to Max Flinders and David Anthony. David had an accident yesterday as well. Bruno Silva and San Rodrigo round out row 5. So, the thing is that yeah, the conditions aren't perfect. We've got some wet stuff on the track, but you're just going to have to try to make do, and that's what this experience is all about.
Interesting, Jason. I just got a text message from David Schwartz, of course, who works for Road Racing World magazine, roadracingworld.com, and he was telling me that Cameron actually did one sighting lap and then into pit lane, and that's where he was stopped. So with the knowledge of David, thank you so much, David Schwartz, for that information. So at least at least we know Cameron Beaubier has what that knowledge is you were talking about. So at least he knows where it's a little bit wet before he gets out there and does his sighting lap. Good look at Matthew Skoltz, and it looks like he has a prepared shield in his bell helmet. That's one that's going to be kind of fog resistant, which you kind of need when all of a sudden the humidity starts to jump up.
Yep, and Garrett Gerloff on the front row. When you think about Garrett's situation right now, he's going to have to deal with the same thing that these other guys are doing. But this guy's done a lot of laps. He looked pretty loose right now, does Garrett. He did a great job this weekend so far. Eyes wide open.
Garrett. Yeah.
Eyes wide open, Garrett. Yep, for sure. And, the thing is he just keeps getting better, and you can see he's had some podiums this year. VIR obviously was was something that we needed to see from him, but he came back, and you see Mike Canfield down there with him. These guys are ready to go.
This race is scheduled for 18 laps, a couple more than Super Sport. Much faster pace around here. Well, last year when we came, this guy right here, Roger Hayden, had set the fastest lap ever, a 140.192. And Garrett Gerloff, who's now in the Superbike class, at a 142.3, which was absolutely ripped the field to shreds in Super Sport. But this year it was Cam Beaubier, so Cameron now has the outright lap record, the only rider so far on a motorcycle that we know of anyway, definitely the fastest riders in the United States in the MotoAmerica Championship, to do a 139 around the Wampum, Pennsylvania track known as Pit Race. And also Cameron Beaubier displaced Roger Hayden with the fastest non-qualifying lap. So it was a 141.2 last year for Roger, and in one of the sessions this weekend, a 141.1 for Cameron Beaubier.
You know, I always used to think that the most important lap of a race like this was the warm-up lap. When you have a track that's a little bit wet, a little bit dry, you can gain so much time on your opposition if you really take a chance and look at the track as closely as you can. Even, you know, if we had sun coming down right now, there were times when I would actually do my warm-up lap looking back to try to see what the track was like. Now, this is all going to be wet, but we're going to have, that's what you're going to have to do, because we don't have a way of just going out there and drying the track. We got other events coming up as the day goes on, and you have to learn how to ride in these conditions. Greg, one of the races I used to do, World Endurance, you'd go out on slick tires sometimes, and it would be wet, but you had to stick it out there for an hour, and that's what all these guys are going to have to do.
And if you're watching MotoAmerica for the first time, joining us for the first time, the bikes you're looking at, the tires that they race on are slicks. Jason talked about it. That means there's no grooves at all. That is just solid rubber that you see. Now, there's a misconception that there is no traction when it's wet with slicks, but Jason, that's not entirely the case all the time.
No, there's been some guys in the past that are tremendous in these conditions where the track is wet and they can still ride on slicks. It's a feel thing, obviously, that you have to have. There's just not as many, there's nowhere for the water to go away, but you can see even down through this little area here, up over these S's, these guys almost got their knees on the ground, so it's kind of in one particular spot of the track. Now, do you remember last year at VIR, we saw JD, he put reins on, and he had like a 12-second lead after the first lap. That's another option that you can try to take. You can think to yourself, well, I put reins on. Obviously, you're not going to do it here because the track's dry in so many other spots, but this is where a guy like Tony Elias, maybe even a Matthew Scott, some guys that have raced in some other places or some other series have a lot of experience. This is going to play to them.
All right, as we watch this warm-up lap, let's head down to Hannah, who has our Cycle Gear last-minute report. Hannah?
You guys may notice that Jake Lewis is actually starting from 12th position on the grid, which is very out of character for Jake, I guess you could say. We've consistently seen him in the top 10 and even top 5s throughout the season. He didn't get to lay down any laps during Superpole this morning because he was having some electronic issues, and even when I spoke with him about an hour and a half ago, they still weren't sure if they were going to get the bike started. But you know, that M4XR Suzuki team was working really, really hard, and obviously he's out there for the sighting lap and he's on the grid, so it looks like they've got him ready to go for the race, and hopefully no more issues with that.
Yeah, and in conditions like this, Jake can take a little bit of a chance. Like, he's only got to come a few rows. He's got Raj right in front of him and Con. You saw Tony come into the line there trying to get some extra heat in the tires, because they actually are going to be losing heat in the tires just because of how slow they've had to go around. So, and you can look right now, Greg, Cameron looks like he's lining up in the back of the grid. So we were told that he might be up in the front. Now, not exactly sure what's going on up here in the front of the grid. With, you see Kyle Wyman holding his hands up. Kyle Wyman's there. Josh Herron was off his bike, and they're going to run the race. And
so it is. Cam Beaubier will start from, well, row number 6. So here we go. It's Motul Superbike race number 1. When the lights go off, we get things rolling. And Garrett Gerloff with a good launch, but here comes Josh Herron, and on the outside, Tony Elias.
Tony Elias is going to try to do what he's got to do here. You can see Herron. He's going to, right off the bat, he's letting Tony know, sorry about just kind of coming up underneath you there. And now they're going to get up. See, if I was Josh seemed like he had a big problem with the conditions. I wouldn't have been that bad to follow through and let somebody else lead the first kind of through this little section. But look at him. Josh he looks right at home to me right now. He's pulling out a big lead right off the bat. So, but the thing Josh has got such tremendous feel, and he's so good.
Let's not forget about the rain specialist,
Look at
Matthew Skoltz as
Matthew
well.
Skoltz. I mean, Matthew Skoltz, and the Cameron Bovier is already up to 6th. So these guys are all being careful. And the guy who looked like he was the least happy to be going out has already got himself a 2.5, 2-second lead.
Are you kidding me? Like your brain, when you go into race mode, your brain goes at one speed, which is flat out. They've got to go back and forth between, recreational track day. This is the speed that the intermediate group at the track days are doing. Then all of a sudden, when they get on the dry, they're just going to pin it. But you got to be worried about the tire conditions too, because they're cooled off.
You know, the thing that you want to remember is you're going to find spots where you can actually get on the gas and put heat in the tires. Now, see, Tony's in really the best spot. He's got 2 guys in front of him testing the conditions. He's got a jackrabbit out in front being Josh, where if Josh has any kind of issues at all, he's far enough in front now where those 2 guys can react to that. All the rest of these guys are just kind of sitting there going, okay, let's see what this looks like. See, it looks all dry down through this little section. This doesn't look too bad.
David Anthony there in the 25 put himself in a decent position as well. That's the top 10 for David Anthony, who struggled again this weekend with the Kawasaki Superbike. But Fly Racing, loving MotoAmerica and wants to come back next season. And we certainly hope David Anthony's program continues. And we look at Kyle Wyman leading our points leader and 2-time Superbike champ as Cam Bobier is going to try to get on the gas. He'll go by Wyman.
Look at, now see, all this little section here, Josh is on the gas hard, so he's putting heat in his tires. This is a tremendous first lap from him. 2.5, almost a 2.5, full 2.5 second lead. Matthew Skoltz just has to be patient, let things come to him. They know that they're in the area. And Garrett Gerloff right now running in 4th with his teammate just behind. This is the spot, but this is the kind of experience that that these young riders, if they were going to go race over in the world level, they have to get kind of used to this stuff.
So normally we would tell you, like we told you at the top of this Superbike, show, 220 horsepower screaming, filling the air of this, but in this particular case, there's a little bit of moisture in what would you say, a third of the track?
Yeah, I'd say just a little bit, and now they kind of get into that area where they're able to, all through like towards the end of these S's, it looks like the guys' lean angles kind of get a little bit better. But when you kind of have a jackrabbit out in front of you the way Heron is right now, he just went another 0.3 quicker in the first split, so he's actually increased his lead. So and see how the lean angles now all through here? So this little section dried out a lot faster.
You can still see the tires, the front Dunlop. I mean, you still have that stripe on them from the manufacturing. Usually at this stage, those are long gone. Bobier up and out for a second.
We saw him there dislocate his shoulder in that section. Season-ending dislocation, by the way. But look at how fast he just kind of went through that little section, and he's behind his teammate now.
All right, so teammates Monster Energy, Yamaha Racing, right? What's at stake is Cameron Bobier has a 63-point lead in this championship. So if you're Cam in this race, it's conservation mode. It's just survive it, especially after the mistake of going into pit lane and him having to start from the last row. So he gets to follow his teammate Garrett Gerloff around. Gerloff, I'm sure, is disappointed at this point. He's in 4th spot from a front row start. So Josh Heron continues to lead the way from Matthew Skoltz, Tony Elias. Then there is that Gerloff-Bobier battle. There's the soon-to-be retired Roger Hayden. Right behind him, Kyle Wyman, David Anthony, Bobby Fong, his first ride. That's a little stressful, your first ride on the genuine Broster Chicken Honda. And that team needing results to keep American Honda interested in continuing that program for next year.
And
Danny Eslick in 10th.
Raj did get by Kyle this lap. So Raj is trying to go forward, but you can see Kyle's getting more and more comfortable in these conditions. It's a hard place to pass down here. This is what makes it hard too, Greg, even if you've got a little bit of pace on guys down through here. David Anthony looks like the danger guy here. You can see Kyle. Yep, there you go. Kyle actually looks pretty comfortable down through that little section right now. Rod's going to try to come back on him. I don't think he's going to do anything with him going down to 7th. Both of them.
Lose at this point. Just go for it, Dave.
Yep.
I like it. Good move. Roger Hayden too, Jason. I saw he's got the old the Alpine Stars rain knee pucks out, the big pucks.
Yeah, look how much it's drying. It's getting a lot drier down through here. I'm just looking. I mean, Heron pulled out. He's at 3.3 second lead now, but he pulled out almost a full second in sector 1. So he looks really comfortable at the beginning. And these guys now, they're letting him get out pretty far because he's only going to go faster as it dries. Matthew pulled him back a little bit in the second sector. Cameron's still trying to figure out a way to get past his teammate.
I think Cameron needs some more heat in that rear tire at this point. I mean, we saw him kind of going back and forth a little bit. Again, what's at stake for Cameron Beaubier? He's two-time national champion. He did this class Motul Superbike. He knows what's at stake long term. A lot of chit-chat about Cameron Beaubier and him going to World Superbike and getting out of MotoAmerica. That is the design really of MotoAmerica to create the next world champion, but what we're hearing is things really have not panned out for his opportunity to get on great equipment in World Superbike, and that might be his last time, his last chance at his age to do that.
It looks to me like, you'd have to talk to them afterwards, but his bike looks like it's moving around more than I'm used to seeing it moving around, almost like if they've softened the thing up for the conditions. And now the track dries, so you got a lot of grip, and it ties the thing up a little. So just looking at the lap times, I mean, Josh Herrin, 49.1, 49.4 for Skoltz, and then the rest of the guys are all in the low 50s. So look at him. He's just found his groove out front.
Took the most risk at the beginning. He took the most risk at the beginning, and right now it is paying off for him. Yeah. And I absolutely love what this rider is doing. Number 2, Josh Herrin on the Attack Performance Herrin Compound Yamaha.
And he actually, when you look at him, you can see the change in his body once he gets to the track that feels like it starts to dry a little bit. And he consistently is killing these guys through the first sector of the racetrack. And, when he comes by this time, he might see a +4 on his board.
Just to give you an idea, by the way, lap times, we're about 9-10 seconds off the pace we are at a full dry track. That's the impact of the wet part of this circuit is having, because it really is, it's amplified throughout the whole track, because you do have to worry about that heat in your tire. I mean, they are significantly cooling off when they're going through that wet section, not only because there's water cooling down the tires, but also just because of the amount of speed they're able to carry.
That's exactly right. And look how stable his bike looks. I mean, we've seen a couple of the other Yamahas not look as stable as Herrin's as he comes up over into turn 1. And looking at the lap times, 47.6 to 47.8 that time through. Matthew pulls up a lot of time in the second split. Now the two Yamahas are starting to come together. They're in the 48s, and they're closing down on Tony Ilias. And you can see Garrett has actually pulled away a little bit on his teammate. And then we got this big battle a little further back between Kyle Wyman and Dave Anthony, Roger Hayden, Bobby Fong. These guys are still all tied up together.
They are, but they're doing like 53s, last time by. So that's some 5 to 6 seconds off of what the leaders are doing right now. And there's Bobby Fong there on the Genuine Roaster Chicken Honda. He's going around Roger Hayden. Real surprised. I mean, I'm surprised at the struggles that they've had this weekend. Yesterday it was mostly electrical. Yep. It was kind of an on-off issue in terms of, one corner it was great, next corner electronics were acting up a little bit. So it definitely had an effect on Roger's confidence heading into today.
And he didn't need that little off this morning. He got to turn 1 a little bit fast on our Super Pole, and that was just a bummer. But looking here right now at Kyle Wyman, he looks pretty comfortable down through that little wet section. You can see how dry it is here now, Greg. It's actually really dry. That's why 45.3. Now Skoltz is only 4/10 back in that first sector, but they still pulled a full second away from Tony and from Garrett and Cameron through that first sector.
David Anthony, love to see him on camera more often, like David's riding style. Team owner, builds all the bikes, the engines himself. I mean, a lot on his plate, and he's ridden for himself this year. He's ridden for somebody else this year. He's got 2, by the way, semis that are in the paddock right now. So he's got 1 for himself, and then he, of course, has Sam Bertorico, who's in 14th spot underneath his canopy, as well as Roy Holster, who's doing the Stock 1000 class that's here in MotoAmerica. Yeah,
there's a lot of moving parts in Dave Anthony's program, for sure. So Kyle Wyman now starting to pull away from those guys. We are in the 46s now. The 2 leaders are down into the 46s. It's kind of stayed at 3.4 seconds. That gap back to Skoltz from Josh Herrin as we continue to watch this battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
How frustrating is it, Jason, as a rider, to know what you're capable of doing, and especially have a good motorcycle that feels well, you know that you have to hold back this much because of the conditions?
Well, I think the guy I think about the most in this is Garrett Gerloff, because he has just looked like he's had the pace all weekend to do something pretty special. Maybe even get up there and challenge his teammate, and then all of a sudden we get a brief rain shower. Now he's in 4th and pushing, but it's hard. And these kind of conditions, we don't get to see them very much in America. We don't get to ride in wet, dry conditions at all. A wet track to a drying track is some of the hardest ride on a motor, especially on sled. And but you just got to let the track come to you a little bit, and that's what these guys are doing. And then you get somebody like Josh who just adapted to it immediately. And like I said, he was shaking his head on the grid, but I don't really know why. He took off and did a great job. Got by Tony in turn 1 and set sail.
So far, so good with 10 laps to go as Josh Herron holds on to a 3.4 second lead over Matthew Schultz. Tony Elias in third. He's only 1.7 ahead of Garrett Gerloff. There's our race leader, Josh Herron, as he continues to twist the grip. It was sector number 1, the fastest that we've seen so far. He just sets the fastest lap of the race again at a 46.3, but Matthew Schultz bettered that, 46.1, so 0.2 of a second better. So Schultz only took out 0.2, so it's now down to 3.2. Tony Elias slipping and sliding his way into a 47 flat, but Gerloff just grabbed another 0.4 of a second back from Tony.
6.6 and 6.3 for those two factory Yamahas, so they are now on leader's pace. The question is, they've got 11.3 seconds, and they've still got to do some racing amongst themselves to try to get to Herron. I think that Herron's done a brilliant job. I think he's got himself far enough away, it would take a big mistake. And right now, if he just continues to watch his pit board, and the other thing too is, if Schultz starts to put any pressure, if Schultz starts to chip away at that lead, how does that change Herron's philosophy on what he wants to get done right now? We're only on lap 6. We still have 9 laps to go. And Herron continues to pound out that first sector, another half a second almost on anybody better other than Garrett Gerloff.
Not only with Matthew Schultz, Jason, we talk about that gap, but there's that lingering Yoshimura Superbike ride that's out there as well. And Matthew's got 2 Superbike wins to his credit, including this season. Early on, it was the 3rd race of the championship. Remember, it was Coda for race number 1 that Schultz was able to win. But to add another race win to his credit, obviously it's going to raise the eyebrows of a lot of people. So I don't know, man. Josh Herron right now, he's looking great. He's got 5 second-place finishes this season, Jason, and 2 third-place finishes. So the only thing we haven't seen from Herron, I mean, he's a former Superbike champion. He's won Superbike races, but it has been a while for Josh Herron. This would be phenomenal for the attack.
I was just saying, how great would it be to see Richie Stamboli get a win, and that whole attack crew. So, there's still a lot of laps to go here. He pulled away a little bit that last lap. He almost is at 3.7. But this is the group that we're going to have to start watching. 45.1 that time by for Garrett Gerloff, fastest rider on the racetrack, and he's definitely closed that gap down to Tony. The biggest thing is he's going to have to make very quick work of Elias if he can. And you can see he's kind of in the draft. Let's see if he tries to outbreak him. He's not quite close enough, but you can see the sun is out. You can see that sun is out. Cameron Bobier is running the fastest second sectors of anybody for the last couple of laps, pretty consistent. You see how dry it's getting all down through here?
Yeah.
But you can't go offline to try to make any passes. It makes that pretty hard. Garrett's going to try to line Tony up here at the bottom of the hill when they go down into the S's. See how good Tony gets off there. Tony got off there really well.
Tony looking over his shoulder.
He's going to let him go by. Letting Garrett go.
So.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit of an issue with Tony Elias.
He probably feels like he's been watching plus. This is the intelligence of Tony. He sees +3 go down to +2, go down to +1. He realizes there's somebody else going faster. Let me ride behind that guy a little bit and get towed up to these leaders. There's no reason for Tony to hold these guys or get into a battle with them. And that's the intelligence of what Tony does. He will sit on the back of these Yamaha guys now and try to go with them. And he'll see on his board the next time by that he still has +0 now on camera.
And the thing was the impact of the championship as well for Tony. So trust me, Tony's not willing to let Garrett Gerloff go by. He just understands the situation because it is that 63-point difference between these two. So in the current position that they're in, which is 4th and 5th place, the difference is only 2 points.
Yep.
So if it finished this way, the champion from 61, not a true in this championship. And Tony really wanted a bike that he could win on. There's no question about it. But very interesting conditions as across the stripe goes Josh Herron. He just did a 44.6, or 44.7, I mean. But Matthew Schultz, a bit of a mistake, and missed you a 46 flat to Garrett Gerloff's 44.6.
Very easy to do in these conditions, and Garrett Gerloff is on the charge right now. Now, Tony might not be as nice with Cameron because of the championship, in the sense he might have a look over his shoulder when they come out of turn 6 like he did last lap. And go, okay, I got to get my head down, focus on Garrett, keep that rider up in front of me ahead, keep him in my vision, and hopefully that'll help pull him along. So, and that's what he's doing. Tony's tremendous at adapting. How many times have we seen him fall back and think, oh, he's out of it? And then next thing you know, look at him right now. I mean, he's coming again right now. He's back on the back of Gerloff. And he just ran 44.1 fastest first split of the race. So this is what I'm saying. He's gonna use Garrett. He's gonna use Garrett as the
Did
carrot.
you say
to get
carrot?
up there.
Carrot or Garrett?
Garrett or
Garrett the carrot.
whichever.
Yeah, for Tony at the moment anyway, because we know Gerloff had a lot of speed. I mean, Garrett Gerloff has shown tremendous speed here. And in talking with him earlier this weekend, he just said, look, you know, this is a flowing racetrack. He absolutely loves it. There's not much disruption to the racetrack in the way that they built the chicane. You know, in terms of on a Superbike, he's like, you just go down one gear and you kind of keep speed. It's about three or 4 seconds difference from when they tested without the chicane, right here that they're going through. But Garrett said it doesn't disrupt the flow at all. It's not a stop-and-go track, and he really enjoys it.
Yeah, and I've been looking at our screens and thinking about talking about Jake Lewis, because I've seen him. He was very, very easy on his first opening laps, and then he was able to get on the back of this battle with Kyle Wyman, Dave Anthony, Bobby Fong, Raj, obviously. And this guy wants to put himself in that shop window too, as we talked about. Here he goes. He's going to try to go up underneath Kyle Wyman, go into the chicane.
Kyle.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's better. There was no positions gained. Kyle did nothing wrong. He slowed down. And but yeah, Jake Lewis is on the gas too. 45.6 the last time through for Jake Lewis. So we'll see if he can. You know, it's going to be hard for him to close down that gap to Cameron and all them. But he's running kind of the same lap times now.
Yeah, and he looks more comfortable on the bike as well, you know, as these conditions dry out. So it's Josh Herron, 5.4 seconds over Matthew Schultz. Schultz, he has 4.3 seconds over Garrett Gerloff, Tony Elias, and Cameron Beaubier.
And right now, another 43.8 first segment. I mean, Herron's just wearing these guys out in that first segment. Literally just wearing them out.
Do you ever slow down? Like, you know what I mean? Like when...
I think he's got a bike. He's got a bike underneath him right now that he feels pretty confident on. And right now, with 6 to go, with a 5-second lead. And the hard thing is, or the best part for Herron is the track's only going to continue to come better. So he's going to be able to take advantage of it the same way these guys are. You can see Garrett getting a little bit loose. Garrett has pulled Tony away from Cameron, exactly like kind of what we thought was going to happen. And but the thing is that Tony will come nibbling back.
But that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, hey, Garrett, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you doing the work. Let me just pass you here. Put another point or two between, you know, himself and his championship rival Cameron Beaubier. We're not saying it's going to happen, because Gerloff is very crafty. And you know, in talking with Garrett Gerloff, he talked all season about how to manage the bike, how to manage the energy as you get late in this race. And with 5 laps to go, Jason, I would have to imagine that, yes, it's very tense at the beginning as he gives a little wave to his pit board. However, are you expending as much energy as you would if this was a dry, flat-out race, or is it a little bit less energy at the beginning?
It's definitely more of a mental challenge at the beginning. You definitely wear yourself out more mentally at the start, and that's what makes this ride pretty impressive by Josh, because the mental capacity it takes to get down through this whole little section first, with as little confidence as he was showing maybe on the grid. Maybe he had a problem with his bike that I didn't see. Maybe that's what he was shaking his head at. But the thing is that the mental side of it, he just manned up and got used to these conditions immediately. And this first segment, you're going to see it pop up on our screen again probably here in a second. Another purple. Every lap, purple through that first segment.
I almost wonder if maybe Josh Herron was shaking his head because he looked over and didn't see Cameron Beaubier and was kind of wondering, where's Cameron? Let's get this race started.
There you go. Here's the guy of the hour right now. Tremendous job so far. Just not put a wheel wrong. Looks comfortable out front and continues to just keep getting faster. So this is exactly what Josh wants. He said that he had a lot of confidence. See that turn there?
Yeah.
You see how he got it turned in and it was a little early? That to me is such a hard corner, and it would be really fun to ask some of these top guys how often that happens. And look at Josh as he comes down into turn 1.
Keep in mind too, this is his first visit, right?
First time
so
here.
So most of the competitors he's racing against, I mean, not Sam Bertorico back in 14th, but some of the competitors here had a test and they had last season under their belt.
Yep, and I remember him sitting here last year without a ride. He came here still and support the series and that kind of thing.
Sure did.
Hanging out with fans and all that stuff, which is tremendous. And now, you know, pit race is probably going to be his new favorite.
Yamalube Westby Racing's Matthew Schultz on the short list for a factory ride next year, but also this team wanting to keep the services of this rider, and you can understand why with the performance he's putting on right now. After that one lap that kind of extended it from 3.5 to about 5 seconds, Schultz is able to get right back on pace, 44.33 last time by. Garrett Gerloff, though, continues to be the fastest racetrack, a 43.391.
Fastest lap of the race for Garrett Gerloff there.
Yeah.
So, and you can see how dry it is now. I mean, Matthew's really kind of throwing it into that right-hander as he comes up out of the hill. right now. We're going to look again at first split, 43.6 for Heron, and 40. Let's see, it's going to be 43.5. So that was actually Matthew's fastest first split. 42.9 though, Greg. Tony Ilias, 42.9 on that lap. There's just 2 little laps to go for him to really do anything other than try to do something with Garrett here at the end. But Garrett has rode tremendous this race.
Let's just take a look at it. So last time by it was about 1 second. There's 4 laps to go in this one. Gerloff is 3.4 seconds by. Listen, I'm no mathematician, Jason Pridmore, but I'm thinking if things keep going this way, Garrett Gerloff's going to be in a position to challenge Matthew Schultz for 2nd place in this race. That would be a tremendous effort in these inclement conditions.
But look how much more comfortable he looks on the bike. And you know, it's when you have a fast teammate, you have a tendency to want to kind of look and see what they're doing, kind of look and see how people are riding. And Garrett's movements this weekend, he doesn't move around on the bike a lot anyways, but it all looks very, very tidy to me and very simple. And that's a lot like his teammate. So that's part of the learning game. And you know, I bet at the beginning of the race, most people would have thought maybe it was going to be the other way around, Bobier pulling guys up to the back of Matthew. But Garrett's looked solid all weekend. Here you go, a little bit further back. Cameron today, on a day like today, is just maybe a little bit in championship mode. Let's just get through this day, get our points, and look forward to tomorrow.
I've got to think so.
Yeah.
Whether he'll tell us that or not is a different story, but I really think that Cam is smart. I mean, I know he's smart, and he's doing the right thing at this point. And especially after a little bit of drama, it's a mistake. He made a mistake, and you know, thanks to once again to Dave Schwartz from Road Racing World, who gave us that information about Cameron getting a sighting lap, but then pulled into pit lane. So that's just a mistake on Cameron's part.
That's correct.
And so he's trying to make it up and just gather as many points as he can. And in 5th spot, that's 11 points that he's got on the line from 25 for a win. And all stats aside, it'll be Cameron Bobier's first time off the podium since our very first Atlanta 15 races.
How about the Hayden and Bobby Fong have both been able to get by David Anthony and Kyle Wyman. So these guys are now going forward. Let's look at the times they're doing. They're in the 46s. Bobby Fong went 45. So Jake Lewis up the road is in the 44s, which is kind of where our race leaders are right now. They're in the 44s as well. Garrett Gerloff is definitely coming even more so this lap. He's going to be maybe on the back of Schultz by the time they get done with this lap.
Can't tell you how important it is for the Genuine Roaster Chicken Honda team to get these laps in, by the way. I talked to Scotty Jensen earlier this morning about Bobby Fong and the ride he's putting in. And, it's the same thing. I mean, he's a new rider with a new crew chief on a new team, and they need time to communicate. Woof. He's a little wide.
Danny Eslick, look, he's got a big problem. Now that, man, I got to see where that's at. Look, attention and good for. He's trying to let. He's got low. This is going up over the top of turn 2, and all right. So far, I don't see any oil on the track either.
Yeah, there is.
It's good of Danny to have that much concern. That's great.
Absolutely. That's Danny doesn't want to disrupt the race like that for sure.
Yep.
All right. So now, like I said, Garrett Gerloff, right on the back of Matthew Schultz, challenging for 2nd spot. It happened quicker than I thought it would, but now Gerloff has got Schultz in his sights.
Garrett's just got to show a tiny little bit of patience here, figure out where he wants to do it, and because it looks like he's just got a lot of pace. You can see the roll speed is definitely a little bit higher through the S's right now, and the confidence he's got. So, and Matthew knows he's there. This is a spot where Matthew had a big problem yesterday. Look at how much grip Garrett has off the edge of the tire there. He thought about it, but that's a hard place to pass. This is that little section where we go left, we go right, can't see the apex or the exit of this right-hander as you tip in, but Garrett's got a lot of pace right now.
A lot of smiles in Cypress, California, as Yamaha's watching this race, thinking, hey, we're in a position right now to sweep this podium.
Oof, that's a big move. That's gonna be, it's big. Garrett's trying really hard right now to try to figure out where he wants to do this, and obviously we know how good Matthew is under braking as well. So I think if Garrett can get a good run out of here, get a little whiff of a draft coming down this front straightaway, but boy, Matthew got out of that turn really good.
So Josh Herron goes by the stripe, final lap, the white flag is waving, and 4 seconds now, the lead for Josh Herron as we continue to watch this battle for 2nd spot. Matthew Schultz, Yamaha Westby Racing Yamaha, right now fighting it out with factory rider Garrett Gerloff. Gerloff with a good drive.
Matthew did the exact thing he needed to do. It's going to get close. They go up in this little area. But you can see how much drier the track is now. Garrett makes a big pass down into second place, down up into turn 3. And this is where he's been really good, this first sector, and then especially through the S's.
Finishes that corner well, and
really
it drives
good.
up the hill really well.
So, and then he's tremendous through all this little S section. He's really fast. We'll probably see him pull a bit of a gap on Matthew down through these S's, and then not have to really worry too much about that last corner.
I can see just up ahead Josh Herron. He's got 4 seconds gap over Garrett Gerloff in this one, as Herron gets by lap traffic. So Bruno Silva goes a lap down in this one. And if you're a Josh Herron fan right now, you are on the edge of your seat screaming and hollering as Josh Herron and this privateer Attack Performance Herron compound team has thrown everything at this race season, developing this R1 further and further in the years that they've had this motorcycle in super stock trim and superbike trim now. Richard Stamboli all the time with his head in that computer trying to make this bike work for Josh Herron, and Herron doing the effort after an incredible stint in World Superbike, doing a double and all the effort they put into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Herron will take victory in the Motul Superbike race number 1.
What a great ride.
Oh,
just awesome ride.
Unbelievable.
42.5 also for Garrett Gerloff, fastest lap of the race. 43.6, Matthew's fastest lap of his race. There's Cameron Bobier coming 5th with Tony Elias in between those guys. So there's Jake Lewis's crew. They're coming out to have a look. Good ride from Jake. He's just got to get that bike across the line as well now. But what can you say about Josh Herron? I bet there's some big wheelies going on right now. There you go. I knew he was doing it. That's on cue. And yeah, Josh Herron, he's going to be very happy with that. I'm interested when Hannah gets him on the podium. I'm very interested to know what kind of was the problem before the green light went out.
Josh Herron, and fastest lap of the race, credited to Garrett Gerloff on lap 15 of 15, a 142.5. So 2 point, again, qualifying is qualifying tire, but the fastest dry lap we've seen without qualifying tires on was a 141.1 by Cam Bobier. So Jason, in the end, Garrett Gerloff was only at the fastest lap of the race 1.4 off of that pace. So the track dried up relatively nicely. Tonight we'll do the research. I'm interested to find out if anyone made any adjustments. Roger Hayden, Tony Elias, if they decided to soften up a clicker here or there, or even Cam Bobier.
Yep.
So a lot to talk about after this race as Josh Herron, Attack Performance, Herron Compound Yamaha, and a Yamaha sweep on the podium.
And Tony's trying to catch him to congratulate him.
Yeah. So Josh Herron, that'll be his 8th podium appearance of the season, his first win for 2018.
But this guy, 42.5 on the last lap of the race. Garrett Gerloff wasn't giving up. It was 2.3 at the end of the race, Greg, was the difference. And I know Josh Herron was up there managing it, don't get me wrong. If Josh needed to put the hammer down a little bit more, I'm sure he would have. But that's going to be a big confidence boost for Garrett Gerloff.
So Garrett, second on the grid to second place after what could have been an absolute disaster. I mean, I think Garrett did the right thing. I wonder if he's going to, think to himself tonight, I should have just been a little bit more aggressive on the start, but I hope he doesn't, because he did the right thing.
Oh, he did great.
And to get himself another podium finish. That'll finish 2018 for the Superbike rookie, Garrett Gerloff, on the Monster Energy Yamalube Yamaha factory racing machine. So for Garrett, it's 2 second place finishes and 3 thirds in what I think is a pretty solid campaign. Now for Gerloff, there was a 6-point difference in the point spread between himself and Matthew Skoltz, 4th in the championship. But the difference between second place and 3rd place is 4, so it's going to close up to 2.
Yeah, this guy's going to be so stoked right now. It's great to see Josh win a race. Great for Richard Stamboli and all of the crew. Those guys work hard. I mean, we saw Josh at Utah, and for him to come back this way, I mean, he had a big weekend at Seca, and tremendous effort.
Motorcycle road racing is all about taking huge risks, and Josh Herron put it down at the beginning and set the tone for the rest of this race, rewarding himself with victory. When we come back from commercial break, we'll have Hannah talk to these 3 and find out how amazing this race was. Hang tight. Back in Wampum, Pennsylvania at Pit Race for the MotoAmerica Championship at Pittsburgh, where Motul Superbike race number 1 is in the books. Let's go right down to Hannah, who's in victory circle with our third place finisher, Matthew Skoltz.
We're just doing a hat dance here with Matt. Matt, you were riding around in second for the majority of that race until Garrett caught you for a pass at the end there. Are you happy with this result today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really happy to be standing back up on the podium. It's been a long, long time, I got to thank the Motul Westby guys. We've been working hard. It hasn't really been a really good weekend for us, but we've slowly been getting better, and I think that the mixed conditions really helped us there. But one more time, thank you to the Motul Westby guys. It feels great to be back up here. Well done to Garrett, well done to Heron. I was just watching the gap from me to Garrett coming down, and I kind of knew he was coming soon, but probably with 5 laps left, I kind of picked my pace up, and I thought I might hold him off, but he rode a brilliant race and came back strong there. But one more time, happy to be back up here. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Congrats.
So for Skolty, his 6th podium appearance of 2018. So good job for him and the Motul Westby Racing crew. And again, so much on the line, not just championship points, but what's going to happen in 2019 as we are knee-deep into silly season, and a great performance for his team and for Matthew Skoltz in very difficult conditions. Well, fastest lap of the race on the last lap of the race, Garrett Gerloff with Hannah.
Garrett, you were getting some serious pressure from Tony, but you managed to pull away from him and eventually catch up to Matt. Tell us how you did it.
Yeah, just little by little. That first section of the track was super wet in the beginning, but then slowly just started to kind of create a little bit of a dry line, and I think it was just whoever wanted to test it out and see if it had grip or not was going to get ahead, and I just couldn't follow them in the beginning. I had no real trust in anything. I was still getting used to the bike in the wet, and but then about like half race, grip came, and I knew I had good pace in the dry and just tried to do my thing. Had a few mistakes, little things like that, but man, I wish we had one more lap because I felt pretty confident I could be close to Josh and fighting for that win. That's what I really want. But it feels good to be back on the podium. Big thanks to the whole Monster Energy, Yamalu of Yamaha Financial Services, factory team. R1 was awesome and had a lot of speed, just couldn't put it on top of the box. But big thanks to HAC helmets, Core-Tech leathers, CD boots, everybody that supports me, supports the team, family back at home, all the fans here. Hope you guys are having a good one, and thanks a lot to everybody.
Congrats. Thanks, Garrett.
For Garrett Gerloff, his second place finish of the year, 5th podium in total. A good, solid rookie campaign here in the Motul Superbike class.
Always want that one more lap. Always,
right?
But you know what? Josh Heron was too good today. He had a back mark on that last lap. Garrett closed that gap down even more, and today Josh was just too good.
All right, let's go down to Hannah, who's with a guy who just sent it today. Send it, Hannah.
Greg and Jason have been speculating the entire race, trying to figure out what was going on there on the starting grid right at the beginning of the race. You had your arms up. We were trying to figure out what you were thinking there.
I was like, don't freaking race, man. It's wet. I was pretty scared. And then once the flag dropped, I was like, well, shit, I'm just going to go for it because that's all we can do. If I'm going to get put out in conditions that are scary, I'm just going to go for it, like I said earlier. I just had fun. I put my head down, looked back, and saw a big gap, and just kind of went for it. So thanks to the whole attack performance team. I don't want to sound like a robot. I know it's boring, but Richard Stamboli's been at this for a long time, and I think I just got him his first Superbike win, so he owes me dinner tonight.
Congratulations. Thanks, Josh.
Well, hey, Josh, just so you know, you're really good in wet to dry conditions. So
Yeah.
put that in your book so that we know if it ever gets like that again, we won't have to worry about it. I thought he was shaking his head for that, but you should, like you said, Greg, once the green light goes on, green light goes on, you forget about it. And huge congratulations to Richard Stamboli. He's been around for so long, made a MotoGP, built a MotoGP bike.
Yeah, it's out here.
That's here at the pits.
Yeah.
And tremendous job for that team.
All right, we're going to continue celebrating with Josh Heron on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go anywhere on beIN Sports because we'll continue our coverage from Pit Race.